A good Moye, this is Gemara Zevachim Daf Chof Zayin, the Daf for Shabbos. Shabbos Cholamayid B'siyata Dishmai, and all the learning for this time period, especially the time period of Zman Simcha Seinu, is for an incredible Schos Refuah Shlema for Gavriel Simcha B'Mirim Ahuva B'Soich Sha'ar Chayla Yisrael. So we're holding 3 lines from the bottom. Chavav and Beis continuing to discuss the Shita of Shmuel. Says the Gemara Meisvei, another kasha on Shmuel. Chishev elitein asanitain lamala lamata lamata lamala. So we go back to the machshavos zarais. We go back to one who has an incorrect thought. At what point he does it during one of the earlier avodas, either the shchita, the kabbalah, or the halacha. To do what? To do the zerika, the application of the blood, either that which is supposed to be above, below, or below, above, le'alter. If he does it right away, then it is kosher. But lemachar, it's going to be pasul. So Rashi fills in the blanks at the bottom over here. Then it's kosher. Vinami zrika psuli, even if it's a shavar sha'avoida is something else. It's a dam bepasol. Kosher. Okay, let's like a complicated Rashi. Let's go slowly over here. So Nachum, if he's going to do it right away, then it's going to be kosher. Whereas if he's going to do it for tomorrow, it's going to be pasul. Chazar v'chishe, back to the Gemara. The Gemara continues. The Gemara says, if he again thought about it. And then what do you say as we turn over to Chav Zayin Amid Aleph, Chutz L'Mekaymai. Now he has another machshava zara. He has a machshava to eat the carbon in the wrong place. Chutz L'Mekaymai, what's halacha pasol? Ve'in by cars. But Chutz L'Zmanai, if he's going to eat it during, beyond the appropriate time to eat a carbon, then the halacha is pigel, v'chayav in alav karis. L'machar, if he originally, and this is part of the reason why prior in the bottom of the these words l'machar pasul was in brackets, because really it comes back over here. As Gemara really picks up the case, and the Gemara says, if l'machar, if he intended to put the blood l'mata l'mata l'machar, then pasul. Chazar v'chishev, if he thinks again bein b'chutz l'zman bein b'chutz l'mekaymai pasul, but the ain by karis. That's the end of the brisa. So what's the kasha on Shmuel? Says the Gemara 4 lines down, Chav Zayin Amar Aleph. V'shaloi b'mekaymai k'mekaymai dami. Now, if you're going to tell me that when something is not in the right place, it's as if it's in the right place, hi pasul, then this last case of the brisa, it says it's pasul. What do you mean? It said pasul ve'ein by karis. Why? Pigelu should be full-fledged pigel, and the halacha should be, it should certainly have karis. Kasha on Shmuel. Amar Mar Zutra, says Mar Zutra, Zrika disharyeh basar ba'achila, placing blood that allows one to eat the meat, ma'isili de pegol, but zrikatol shari basar ba'achila, loy ma'isili de pegol. So explains Mar Zutra, it's totally in whether the zrika that we're discussing is a zrika hamachsheres for achila. If it is of zrika machsheres de achila, then it gets a shame of full-fledged zrika, then it could create real pasul, a real pigel, which will carry with it karis. But if not, then not. Now Rashi again, Rashi 10 lines into the narrow lines, Rashi points out, zrika de shari basar b'achila kigoin b'makim matan adam ma'isli de pigel. Because that is a full-fledged zrika. But zrika to lo shari basar b'achila, continues Rashi. Ihave avale bizman oikon zrika shabim kaimai them lamai stay pingo beich chisham nas the actor in more in the macher beich chilum schitel mevle hach zrika the macher loy mai stay pingo. Why? because it's not a full-fledged zrika. Based off of that detail, 10 lines down, the first line is pigol. Amar le Rav Ashi lemar Zucha. Mina lecha ha. From where do you know this? Tichsev. Where do you know this Yisayid? Replies Mar Zucha with a pasuk in Vayikra. Im ha'achal yachal mi basa zevach shlamav. The pasuk concludes pigol hu, and we darsh in this pigol yeh. Misha pigulai garam loi. The pasuk is teaching us that when do you have kares? Only if you eat a carbon, who the machshava, the pigul dika machshava, that's what created the iser. Yatza zeh. This excludes the one that we're discussing when the dam is placed shleimim kaimai. She'ein pigulai garam loi. It's not the pigul that causes one not to be allowed to eat it. Ela iser davar acher garam loi. But rather, another iser, the fact that the dam was placed in the wrong place. So in such a case, eat or consume the meat shalai, then there would not be kares, and it would just be aser. So says the Gemara, that's going to be the makar to our yisayid when it's the zrika machshares that creates a full-fledged bigol, but if not, not. Continues the Gemara, if this is true, says the Gemara, now we go mamish the other way. If you're telling me that it's not a case of real pigol, so it shouldn't be possible bichlal. So says the Gemara, why are we creating this middle level? This is like a machshava to leave over the blood. According to the sheet of Rav Yehuda, Rashi at the end of the narrow lines, Rashi fills in the blanks for us. This is going to be in about a week's time. Because your thought process was for lamachar. According to Rav Yehuda, we're going to learn that the Tanakhama is going to say it's kosher, and Rav Yehuda over there creates this middle level that it's not a full-fledged pigol, there's not kares, but it still is puzzle. Continues the Gemara. Reish Lakish Amar teaches Reish Lakish La'olam Pasal Mamish. Says Reish Lakish. Now this is a totally new pshat. We started the day picking up off of Shitas Shmuel from the previous Amud. Now says the Gemara, no, we have a new pshat which is Reish Lakish. Says Reish Lakish that if the dam is placed shaloibim kaimai, it is pasal mamish. Shaloibim kaimai, kimikaimai dami, and it's true. So that's not in the right place. It's like its place. Klape the ritzui, klape the kapara, like Shmuel said, but it's going to be full-fledged pasal. Says the Gemara, how is that shaykh? On one hand, kimakaymai dami, that what you got your ritzoi. On the other hand, it's pasal mamish. That sounds like a stira. So right away, the Gemara explains, according to Reish Lakish, v'loy kasha kan shenasan b'shtika, kan shenasan be'amira. Two different cases. When do we say that that it's going to have a ritzoi, you're going to get your kapara? Is when you place the blood b'shtika. You didn't say anything. But kanshenasan ba'amira, when do we say that it's going to be puzzle? Is in a case where he said something in which he thought and he articulated that he's going to consume the basar shaloi bezmanoi. So it comes out that Reish Lakish on one hand is agreeing with Shmuel. He's agreeing with Shmuel shaloi b'mkaimai kibakaimai dami, but he's arguing on a nuance. So says the Gemara. So now, whatever we just said moments ago on Shmuel will apply to Reish Lakish. So Tanan, we ask the same kasha. Ad mehavei ad midavim achshav zinuch v'liba de Rebbe Yehuda. So the Gemara v'chulu, the Gemara just points out, interesting Gemara. The Gemara points out that whatever the prior discussion according to Shmuel, copy and paste, and that discussion exists over here according to Reish Lakish. Pshat number 3 comes along Rav Yechlan. Rav Yechlan Amar, about 15 lines to the bottom. The first one line is Edi v'Edi shenasa b'shtika. Says Rav Yechlan, no, everything was done b'shtika. There's no machshava. There's zara t'ida shloi b'izman. V'shloi b'imkaimai lav k'imkaimai dami. So Rav Yechlan comes along and he argues on the whole premise of Shmuel, the premise of Reish Lakish, and he says that which is shloi b'imkaimai is not considered b'imkaimai. The halacha is going to be, it's going to be completely possible. There's no ritzoi, there's no kafara, and of course, you cannot consume, you cannot eat the meat of this carbon. So, fully arguing on Shmuel, says the Gemara, V'hadi ika dama nefesh, says the Gemara, and the Mishnah that says that you have to do the avodah again is a case where there's still dama nefesh coming out of the carbon. And therefore, as we've seen, as long as it's part of that original splurt, the original dama nefesh, then you're able to fix, you're able to do the Kabbalah and continue the avodah. Hadaleka dama nefesh. Whereas the Mishnah that says it's puzzles where there's no dama nefesh. Ask the Gemara, Tinan, we learned in the Mishnah, when you place the dam of a carbon shlobim kamai, puzzle vein by kares. So the Gemara says, which was the second shot, we understand this. Rav Yechlan, Mayi by Kares, according to Rav Yechlan, it's mamish, full-fledged puzzle. It's full-fledged pigel, it should even have Kares. Says the Gemara, you're right. Kasha, it is a kasha. Continues the Gemara. Ule Shmuel, Mayin by Kares. What about according to Shmuel? Hachi Kamar. Im nasan b'machshava puzzle, ve'ein by Kares. Rav Yechlan. Isha b'mkaimai, lav k'mkaimai dami. According to Rav Yechlan, that he argued on the whole side, then laveki nishvach menakli. So says the Gemara, according to Rav Yechlan, this should have a case similar to nishvach. It should be the same thing that it was spilled from the kli ala ritzba, v'yasvenu, and the kohen should be able to gather it up, collect the blood, and put it back on. So why does the Mishnah say that it's full-fledged puzzle? Meaning, the Gemara is saying the extremity of Rav Yechlan should really create a heter. Extremity of Rav Yechlan is shalei b'mkaimai zelav kib'mkaimai dami. So says the Gemara Gevaldik. So it's zelav b'mkaimai. So it's like the dam fell on the floor. What's the halach of the dam falls on the floor? Collect it up and do it again. Says the Gemara, Savar la kamandam la yasvenu. Rav Yechlan argues in that also. Tom Rav Yitzchak Yosef Rav Yechlan Akol Moedim Nitan Lamala Shenitin Lamala Lamata Shenitin Lamata. Everyone agrees that which is above, that which should be below should be below. Shaloi mitzvah son, but it wasn't done in the right way. Then lo yasvenu. Lo nechlu al b'nitan lamala shenitin lamata shenitin lamala. That's the machlek issues here. Shimon Amar yasvenu u'mishnah seinu, and the Mishnah which said like Rav Yosi is k'divrei Amar, like the opinion that holds lo yasvenu, but holds Rav Yechlan on his own, and he says there's no kasha from the Mishnah of Nishbach. Continues the Gemara of Rav Chisda Amar Avimi. Rav Chisda said in Ravimi, Hakol Moedim Nitan Lamata Shenit Asin Lamala. So now this really is piggybacking. We're in the middle of discussing Rav Yechlan. We had a kasha which we had to find the teretz. In the middle of that, at the bottom of the Amid, we quoted Rav Yosi and Rav Shimon. Says the Gemara of Chisda Amar Avimi says similarly that what? Hakol Moedim Rav Yosi and Rav Shimon agree that which should be put below, at the kohen put above. That what Shloi Yasvenu, you don't gather and do it again. For Kosh came and he tell Lamala, Shenazan Lamata, that it's supposed to be above and you put it below. That you don't do it again. Lamata ein ba'in. Loi nechlu, what's the machlekes? Lifnim Shenazan bechotz. Says the Gemara, down that was supposed to be bifnim in the heichal that was placed b'achot or b'achot shenas lifnim. That case, Rav Yasi Aimer. The first line is Aimer 8 lines down. Yasvenu. Rav Yasi says you gather it up. Rav Shimon Amar Lo Yasvenu. So another way of learning the machlekes Rav Yasi and Rav Shimon. So again, we're in the middle of a discussion, three-way machlekes. We started with Shmuel, we went on to Rish Lakish, now we're in the middle of Rav Yochanan. Says the Gemara, let's read a raya to Rav Yochanan. Again, when the dam is not in the right place, that halacha is going to be, it's going to be completely possible. But even though it's going to be completely possible, you're not going to be allowed to fix it, not like the case of Nishbach. Rav Yehuda Aimer, Zois hi ha'ila, says the Torah, this is Zois, this, he, it, ha'ila, zoila. These three words are ila miyutim, these are miyutim. Prat, and therefore comes to exclude, l'nishchata ba'layla, v'shechta alayt, v'shenishvach dam, the blood spilled, v'shiyata dam chutz l'klayim. Also, that in these cases, if it went up, Terid, you got to take down the blood. Rav Shimon Aimer, no. Oila, the fact of us says Oila, El Niela, Ksheira, Minayim the Rab, how do you know to include those cases? Says Rav Shimon, V'halon v'ayotzi v'atame v'shenishchat, all these cases, Lon, who stayed overnight, Yotze, and went out, V'atame, the carpet is Tame, V'shetza chutz l'zmanoi, V'chutz l'mikaimoi, V'shekiblu psulim, V'zarku estama, someone who's possible caught the blood and was zayrik estama. V'anitel lamala, it's supposed to be above, shenasa lamata. V'anisel lamata, shenasa lamala. V'anisel mifnim, shenasa machotz. V'anisel mechot, shenasa mifnim. V'apesach v'achata, sheshachtan, shloi lishman. In all of these cases, mi nayin, where do we know that in these cases, that the chalkei carbon are not removed once they're placed in the mizbeach? Talmud Leimar, Toiras Oila, Riba Toira Achas. Chol Oilam, there's one Torah, there's one set of rules. Shem Alo, the halacha is Lo Yardu. Once the pill goes up on the Mizbeach, it stays there. Continues Rav Shimon Yachla, I would think, Shani Marbe, Afa Revev Anir Vavamoksa Vanevad Vestan Vamacher Vaklayim Vatreifa V'Yoh, he'd say Daifen. Says Rav Shimon, I would think that similarly, an animal that had relations, an animal that was muksa, was designated for Avodah Zarah, Nevad, it was actually worshipped, Estan, it was used to pay a Zaina, V'Machir, it was the exchange for a dog, V'Klayim, was mixed breed, Trefa, V'Yotzi Daifen, C-section, Talmud Laimar, Zois. Only this. But other cases, the halacha would be, you would take it off the Mizbeach. How do we know which we're including and which we're excluding? Says Gemara, the chalik is going to be if they're psulin ba kodesh, are they fit in the first case for a carbon bechlal? So says the Gemara, what do we see for this long and lengthy brayso? And what do we see? And Rav Yehuda did not argue. My time alamisham the kalte mizbeach. What must the reason be that once the blood is placed in the mizbeach, it stays there? Ushma mina, and that's the raya lo yasfenu. You don't gather it up. Once the dam is there, it stays there. We wrap up today's shir. Amar Rav Elazar Mizbeach HaBenimi, 8 lines from the white lines. First line is Benimi. Mizbeach HaBenimi Mekadesh Psulim. The inner Mizbeach makes something pasul, Kadosh. It sanctifies carbonates which are pasul, that you do not take them off the Mizbeach. Says the Gemara, my kamashalon, what's the raya? Tanino. Anis b'fnim b'chutz v'chulu. And we see, don't take it down. That's only the blood of chazile. Aval kaimes lo chazile emaloi kamashlan. That even in the case of the kaimes, you don't take it down. Meisvei asked the Gemara, "Ketayir zara shala likavi mizveach." A ketayir zara, foreign ketayir that was placed in mizveach. Ketayir you have to take it down. Sheilcha mekadesh psulin, because nothing makes something pasul kadosh Ela mizbeach achitzain barayulai. On the mizbeach chitzain, that which is right for it. Chitzain in mipanimi lai. And words about the mizbeach hapanimi. Answers the Gemara. Tzirtachi answer as follows. End of the narrow lines. K'terizar shalom mizbeach achitzain. Tereid. Shemizbeach chitzain mekadesh psulin. Ela rayulai. Papanimi. Then it's a chiddush the other way. Bin rayulai be'she'ein rayulai. My time a high ritzba. Bahai Klishares, says the Gemara, what's the chilek? Is a fundamental chilek between the two mizbechos. Hai ritzvah, the mizbech achitzain, is considered ritzvah. It's considered the floor of the Beis Hamikdash, just like the floor has been elevated, whereas the mizbech hapanimi has the din of a Klishares. Therefore, that will be the chilek klape, whether it went up, you're going to take it off of the mizbech or not. Pick it up for the Mishnah, b'siyata dishmai.